Public Safety Committee to order. First up is 911.
Good evening, everyone. I just have two reports for you. The 2021 report for your review. And also, I have agency data for January of 2022. We dispatched 1,395 EMS agencies, 512 fire agencies, 1,690 police polls, and 431 public service calls. And that's all I have.
Are there any questions for Rob? Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Fire?
Is George on?
There he is.
Joined, yep.
He just joined.
George, are
George,
you
you're
on?
up.
George?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that.
No worries, you're up.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I just have a couple of things there. Just our activity report for the month of January, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then we've got our class scheduled out through June. And it looks like the classes are filling up pretty good. So we're going to be pretty busy out there. And then the only other thing I just wanted to bring you guys kind of up to speed on, we're planning a dedication and open house for May 21st. So we're starting to roll the invites out for all that stuff. And we expect to have a dedication. And during the open house, we're going to be running a bunch of consecutive evolutions, demonstrating some of the props that we have out there and some of the neat toys that we got to try to help train all the volunteers. So we're certainly going to, hope all you folks can make it out there for that. And we'll kind of keep you up to speed as we kind of finalize all this stuff.
That's great, George. Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for George?
George, do you have a time for that when that starts?
It's going to be, right now, it's tentatively scheduled from 10 to 2.
Okay, thank you.
Trying to not take everybody's time up for the whole weekend or anything, just a short chunk out of the middle of the day.
Appreciate
Great.
that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, George.
Great, thank you.
Probation.
Good evening, everyone. One item, submitting the 2021 annual report for review.
Usually you review it and approve it the following month.
It gives us a month to review and read it, and if we have questions, we can ask next month.
Are there any questions right now for Mr. Dodo? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Public Defender.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have one resolution request to accept a grant award, third council at first appearance grant in the amount of $223,771 over a 3-year period for a total of $671,136 from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services to the Columbia County Public Defender's Office, and to authorize the chairman of the Board of Supervisors to sign said contract. This award is a continuation of the council at first appearance, currently under the second council at first appearance grants for the term of 1/1/2020 to 12/31/2022. These are the grants that fund our off business hour contract attorneys to do arraignments throughout the county.
Any questions?
I'll move it.
Second,
Helsley.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So
Thank you.
carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have my report for the month of January 2022. And this past month, we had a 30% increase in applications from January of last year, a total of 112 applications. We closed 91 cases and have active caseload of 1,647 cases. In regards to the arraignments done by the CAFA attorneys, we had 10 in the month of January, and normal business arraignments, there were 48 done by my staff and myself. And that's all I have to report.
Hey, Kelly, could you scroll back up to that page that showed like violation misdemeanor? There was a number that jumped out to me, the 41. Is that a typical active caseload compared to where it's normally at, or is it really high with COVID courts being closed and people not being able to be brought in on warrants and all that?
I mean, misdemeanor violations, there's generally more of them than felonies, just because they're less serious crimes in as far as classification. So, like, the felonies are usually the ones that get all the attention because they're, at least the allegations, they're really bad stuff. So the discrepancy between the number of felonies and misdemeanors and anything more than that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I do
Yeah.
understand that from working in the
Yeah.
court. But I guess
Sure,
my
of course.
question is 1,647 active caseload. Is that typical and normal, or are your numbers currently higher with coming out of COVID, courts starting to open up again?
Well, the applications are coming back up overall. I'd have to go back and look at the past reports. I think generally the overall, just off my top of my head, fluctuate between 1,600 and 1,900. And so, coming in, the cases were slowed for a while. I think that's starting to, on the front end, or I'm sorry, on the back end, not a lot of stuff got closed, especially at the felony level, because of the courts essentially shutting down for a year, and still we're having a very slow time getting felony trials to go because of the backlog and because of COVID protocols that are still set forth by OCA, where trials are being canceled at that level because of a witness gets a COVID outbreak or a client or something like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Any other questions for Shane? Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Chairman.
Emergency management.
Thank you, Chairman Lagonia. Good afternoon, everybody. We have 2 resolution requests, and I've also submitted our activity report for the last month. First resolution request is a financial resolution request to reorganize the emergency management budget. I want to stress that it doesn't involve any additional funds. And I've been working with the county controller to better organize line items by adding line items and transferring funds to different sections in order to better identify and reflect our expenses for the year. There's 3 things that I'd like to point out. Number 1, you'll see when the sheriff does his time with his report to the committee, you'll see that the $65,000 in the one line item budget line will be transferred to a budget line in his account or in his budget as we had planned. And also you'll see that I'm asking to transfer $8,100 to 0.1. And originally we had asked to transfer 5,000. We had talked about transferring 5,000 for a clerk's position, which I'm going to transfer the funds, but I'm not asking to fill just yet. But we've also, during meetings with the sheriff has decided that at this point, he's not able to fund the liaison program. So I asked him if he would approve or allow Bill Hilscher to be a deputy director of emergency management. He said that would be fine. So I'm looking, you'll see the next resolution is to create and fill an additional deputy director of emergency management. The salary is $3,100. Again, this is money that was found within the budget, and there's no additional money needed. Now, with the $65,000 that's transferred to the sheriff's budget, and you take out the 0.1 personnel costs, we're right down where we said we would be when we made the original projection. It's between $65,000 and $70,000 rating budget. So I'm asking to approve the request for the final resolution. There's
Supervisor,
also a,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's a budget worksheet that's attached that was completed by the controller.
Great.
Move
Supervisor,
it, Stout.
before we move it, yeah, Supervisor Holding, you have your hands raised.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a couple questions, Mr. Harrison, and I appreciate wanting to have the budget reflect what is needed. And I just want to make sure I understand the 65,000 you're talking about to transfer over. Is that the maintenance agreements line there?
Yes.
So wouldn't you want to change it by decreasing 65,000 and not have 65,000 be in your revised budget if it's coming out of your budget and going into the sheriff's budget?
Well, this is a worksheet that was done by the controller, and I believe he didn't want to do that until the resolution was approved.
So that'll be
And the money, yeah, the money would actually be transferred. But the sheriff does have a resolution. I checked, and the sheriff is to present that resolution to transfer those funds.
Okay. My other question is, it seems that a lot of the decreases in your budget is for computer equipment and computer software supplies. Can you just talk a little bit about what you thought your expenses with computers, 25,000 for computer equipment's a big expense, and why you no longer need that computer equipment, or how that relates?
You'll have to ask the sheriff's office. I never had access to that. I was asked in August when they planned the budget for emergency management, if we had any needs or any large expenses that we would incur, any projects. I was included in that. However, I didn't have access to the budget.
Okay.
I didn't have the system that would allow me to have access to the budget. And so I can't tell you that. I can tell you that we have, through grants, we have been able to secure 3 brand new laptop computers and iPad Pros through grant money last year. So they're all brand new. We don't expect to have any large expenses. And you'll see that the one line item has $20,000 in it. Obviously we can't predict when a disaster is coming, but we could use that if we had any large expenses for equipment. And I may have to tweak this a little as we go along, since this is the first year that I've actually had access to it.
Okay, I appreciate that. It looks like a lot of, utility telephone that was probably under the sheriff's budget. Now, obviously, you need your own telephone. So a lot of it really, I think, is accommodating to that change of space.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Chairman
agree with
Morrell?
you 100%. That's it was just used differently, and now, we have to use it as a department. So
I was just going to add that this budget reflects their actual needs to operate the emergency management office. So, but I will second the motion.
We have a first from Supervisor Stats, a second from Chairman Morrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
So the second resolution request is to develop or make a 4th deputy director's position, and to appoint Bill Hilscher to the position. He has extensive experience. He's been to the specialized training. And, I'd hate to lose that. I think he'll continue to be an asset to the team. And, for 3,100 hours, we're getting a lot of experience and training for very little money.
Supervisor Trimides?
Yeah, thanks. I have two questions related to this, and I guess they're both kind of about process and about powers. So, is Bill Hilscher? He's previously worked with EMO in a different capacity. Like, how did you come about to select him?
The sheriff's office participated in the emergency management liaison program, meaning that they had a lieutenant from the jail who worked directly with emergency management, but was paid by the sheriff, because obviously that's the sheriff's employee. At this point, I've had a couple of meetings with the sheriff that have been good meetings. And at this point, he feels that he's not able to proceed with that program. And so I'm looking to put him on as an actual deputy director with emergency management so that he can continue, working with us. Otherwise, he wouldn't, he's a sheriff's employee, so he wouldn't be able to. This would be like a part-time job for him instead of something that he would be doing as part of his sheriff's duties.
Right. So he would have his regular responsibilities as a county employee working for the sheriff's department, and then we'd be on a separate line for this role, and he would be responsible for making sure he's not like double dipping and doing one time on another job's time.
Yes. Yeah. He and the sheriff would have discussed that, and whatever level of interaction he'll have with emergency management will be up to the sheriff. And part of his duties when he was lieutenant as the liaison was to carry through with emergency management activities.
So then,
which will stop as part of that, and it'll be picked up now as a deputy director of emergency management, separate from his sheriff's duties.
So just clarifying, he wouldn't be doing the EMO deputy director during his sheriff's duties time.
That would totally be up to the sheriff. I assume not, but that would be up to the sheriff because he's a sheriff's employee. I expect that he'll do this after hours and not during hours that he's with the sheriff's office. However, that'll be up to the sheriff.
And does that work for you to have a deputy director who's only working after hours?
Yeah, everybody else does. We're all part-time. He was even part-time then also.
Okay.
Everybody's very part-time, Michael, just to answer that question. They all have other jobs pretty much, and they're all very part-time. So,
and then my other question is in some ways like about the second part of the resolution, which I don't necessarily have qualms about the particular appointment, but I'm just wondering if is it the board that is appointing this particular person, or is it the director, David Harrison, who's making the appointment, and we're approving the creation of the position? Just trying to get clarify, like who is responsible for making this appointment? Is it the board or is it the department director?
It's going to be the chairman of the board. The supervisors approve it, and the chairman of the board will make the appointment. It's a 2-year appointment for all of us. That's how it would work. Although I am told when HR approved this, I'm told that we do name the person that we expect to appoint since it's a term.
Sheriff?
Yeah, Mike, we discussed the director and I discussed it pretty thoroughly, and I also discussed it with the chief executive jailer on what role Lieutenant Hilscher can play during his work hours. Logistically, we pretty much have it all settled. I mean, if it does come down to something that's going to be mandatory or in the realm of the sheriff's office to deal with, absolutely we'll have Lieutenant Hilscher play a role in that. But otherwise, if it's not a sheriff's office matter, he's going to have to handle it on his off time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. I don't think we have one, do we?
No, we don't.
Move it, Kippy.
Second,
Second, Mettler.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
The only thing I had left was our activity report. Well, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Director Harrison?
Just
Okay.
thanks for putting in the most recent mask request. Whatever sort of kits and masks we can get, I think is hugely important. So I appreciate your work on that.
Yeah, hopefully I'll hear in the next day or two, what if they approve it. So I'll let everybody know.
Great, thank you.
David, how many people were out of power this last round of ice storm? I mean, you don't have to be exact, but
This last round, and to be honest with you, this is what we lose sleep, because when you have freezing temperatures, obviously it increases the health risk. But this last round, it was just under 7,000, mostly in the NYSEG from Austerlitz South area. And, it was for almost a full 24 hours, although some of the towns did very good, I thought, and opening warming centers and things like that. It hit mostly south of us, and Ulster County had upwards of, I had, just under 60,000 when I checked at one point out of power that went on for, the number went down as they fixed them, but it went on for 3 or 4 days. Anyway, it was the National Grid section had very little. They had a few hundred in the beginning. They put them back up relatively quickly. Central Hut had about 125 or 135 at its peak. And they all went back up. They were out for a while. And NYSEG had the majority of it for this storm. But I will note that, earlier in January, we had one that was mostly National Grid. There were 13,000 out. And that's when the hospital had the issue with frozen pipe. It turned out to be frozen pipes that did damage to their part of their ER department, which they got up very quickly. They did a good job with that.
thank you.
Great, any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Yes, thank you. I have 4 resolutions and 2 reports. One was added on as an email. The first is a personnel resolution. The authorization for the sheriff's office to abolish the senior investigator's position and create a lieutenant's position. This change is budget neutral, and it's just a way that we're restructuring our administrative staff.
I'll move it, Hoatling.
Second,
Second, Mettler.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. The second one's a financial resolution, an authorization for a budget transfer and to move money from the emergency management budget, which the director just spoke of, to the sheriff's office budget due to the 2 departments splitting, and that's a move of 65,000.
I'll move that, Morel.
Second,
Second, Hoatling.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. The third is also a financial resolution to authorize a budget transfer for monies from the point 2 account to the point 4 account, and a maintenance agreement with Axon. The agreement amount is 100,000. That's the 5-year program we're working on for the body cameras and so on and so forth.
I'll move
I'll
it.
move it.
Oh,
I'll second it. Demetis.
Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. And last is a general resolution to authorize to enter an intermunicipal agreement within towns and villages for the enhanced enforcement patrol. That's the patrols that we contract with the towns and villages to provide additional traffic safety programs. And those towns consist of 7 towns for traffic details: Ankrum, Austerlitz, Chatham, Claremont, Germantown, Ghent, New Lebanon. and a parking ticket detail for the village of Valatia.
I'll move it, Helsley. Or I'll second it, Schmittis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. Then we have an attached out-of-county inmate report. Those numbers are relatively low due to COVID. We're working on relationships, renewing our relationships with some adjacent counties to get some more inmates housed. So hopefully those numbers will be up next year. If there's any questions on that. And we also sent out an email. I think this is something new we're doing from what I understand, but I wanted to be a little bit more transparent in our annual reporting. And so I had an email sent out for the 2021 annual report stating the stats throughout the sheriff's office, including the personnel here at the sheriff's office.
Any questions for the sheriff?
The only thing if I could add is that the annual report should be held for a month in case there's any questions, and we can adopt it at the next board meeting, which is our standard practice.
Okay.
Right, so that makes 2 that we're going to read through, right?
Yes.
Address next month. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. Okay, resolution number XX-2022, resolution appointing a stop DWI coordinator. Whereas the New York State Legislature has established a program to combat driving while intoxicated and its related problems. And whereas the program is designed in such a manner that places the burden of funding this program on the persons convicted for DWAI and DWI by increased fines that will return directly to the county. And whereas the county has participated in this life-saving program since 1981, and whereas the continued participation in this program is contingent on the preparation and submission of a comprehensive plan approved by the local governing body, now therefore be it resolved that John Gallo be and hereby is appointed as coordinator of the Columbia County Stop DWI program for a 2-year term and commencing March 16th, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2023. And be it further resolved that certified copies of the resolution be forwarded to the Columbia County Attorney, the Columbia County Treasurer, appointee Human Resources, Civil Services, and Payroll. Supervisor Hoatling.
2 questions. So the submission of a comprehensive plan approved by the local governing body, I assume we are the local governing body that's going to approve the comprehensive plan?
Correct.
And when does that occur?
I'm not sure when the due dates are, but that's one of their responsibilities.
Okay.
We can
And,
find that.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and I can find that out for you.
Okay. And then John Gallo, is this something that went out, via an ad and John Gallo applied and there was an interview committee, or is this somebody that we know that works for the county? Do we have any credentials or qualifications?
Well, actually, we do. We have a resume. I've sent it to the chairman. This, and by way of explanation, we had appointed a new coordinator at our January organizational meeting. Unfortunately, he cannot continue to do the job. He had given me some notice. I actually thought I would bring this up at the March Public Safety Committee meeting to be voted on in April. What I found out was that our director needs to leave at the end of this month, or our coordinator, I should say, needs to leave at the end of this month. He had given me some notice. We had looked for another individual. This person is retiring as a state trooper, John Gallo. He was in charge of the forensic unit at the State Police Academy. So he's got significant credentials. And we thought he'd be perfect for the position. And
Great.
Rob, I sent Rob Rob Lagonia, his resume today. We can send it to the whole committee.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Kelly, can you forward that to everybody in the committee, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll
So
move
with
the
that-
resolution.
I'll
second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Is there anything else that anybody in the committee would like to bring up? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that. Helsley.
Second?
Second. Oh,
Bruce, second. All in
Mhm.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Department reporting tonight, Human Resources. Michael?
Good evening, everyone. Hello. I'm sorry. Okay, what's that say? This is for the elected officials. Yes. So this is the standard resolution that I have to come in with a lot. We had a number of individuals who do recorded record of activities for New York State retirement come in and revise their calendars, in addition to a couple of positions that were revised as far as their titles. So to establish their standard work days, and in this one for pension credit.
Anybody got any questions? If not, need a motion.
Wait, Supervisor Adams
Supervisor
has her hand
did.
up.
Yes,
So
Brenda.
Michael, I just had one quick question. Why
Sure.
was one of the employees was listed twice with two different terms?
I'm sorry, where are we looking? Because it's so small, I can barely see it.
There are two forms. There are two RS 2417s. And the first name on the first one is listed with a 2021 term.
Mhm.
And then on the second page, she's listed at the top with a 2023 term. So I just wondered why she was listed twice.
Is that Supervisor Eldridge?
Yep.
Yes, because she had an adjustment. So originally Dawn had her on that we would have done the original posting. We would have come in 2 months ago, but we didn't bring it to the meeting. So she listed both changes that we had. She had revised her paperwork.
Okay, so the Eldridge is a change, but everybody else is just what face value, what it says, a change in hours.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, I still need a motion. Nobody else has any more questions?
I'll move it, Morel.
Second, Rick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, second is, with hopefully, I don't want to use that 5-letter word, but hopefully that's starting to exit. We would love to be able to do the Summer Youth Employment Program and to bring Columbia County's youth back into our county departments to see what a great place it is to work. We're very proud of this program. We've been able to bring in several employees that have stayed on and have become county employees. It's just a really great opportunity for them to see the different things. A lot of people don't even know what municipalities do. So as you certainly know, we've expanded this program from being traditionally, a lot of them were all labor type positions, and we've brought a lot of them into county departments to do different things that they have in combination with what they're going to college for. So we think it's a really great opportunity to try to do this program again.
Michael, assuming that it passes at the next board meeting, would you recommend that we start looking for candidates for these positions?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, Holly Hedgepeth is actually already getting all the information and all the paperwork together to send to supervisors. So your nomination form, the breakdown of the departments. Last year, we had a very limited amount of people that were interested in bringing the kids into the program. So they were this time we're going to do our traditional 6 at highway, 1 at solid waste, and 2 at facilities, and then the other 15 will all be all general departments, which Holly's already sent out to department heads saying, hey, start letting us know what's going on. So Holly will be providing all of you an explanation of the type of work that they're doing in the departments and what the youth should be expected to be able to do. So absolutely, if you or any other supervisor have people of interest, it'd be wonderful. We're looking to do the program. We usually run it around Memorial Day. We're going to start it the Monday before Memorial Day this year. We'd like to, because Memorial Day is so late. It's the 30th this year. So we'd like to start it on the 23rd. And then we'd like to bring it all the way up to the Friday before before Labor Day, because traditionally we used to always do it several weeks into August, as if the kids were all going away to school. And if some of them are staying and going right to local Columbia Green, it's wonderful that they're not commuting, so they can continue to work. So it's a great opportunity.
But if they were going back to school in mid-August, they could just stop short of the regular.
Absolutely. Right. Part of what we try to do with them, and actually we've been talking about adding, we do orientation with them. We have the supervisors, their actual work supervisors complete an evaluation for them. And we have the youth perform fill out a reflection form, and they meet together and talk about like what kind of goals did you have when you came into this program? What did you expect? What did you learn? And it's a great tool, not only for them coming in, but for the department heads also to use going years forward to enhance their programs or to maybe educate someone differently when they're coming in another year. So we're really trying to use this and keep building on it to have it be, a really good a structure for the next workforce for everybody, and it really does help all of our department heads to learn to deal with the next cycle, the next generation of youth that are coming through, because every time we get, it's an adjustment. So, and the workforce is ever changing. So it's just a great way to kind of adapt on all ends.
I'll move it.
I'm sorry.
Second, Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Michael, thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Okay, the next person up would be Chris Sweet, MIS.
Evening, everybody. I believe the first one is the Promevo, right, Kelly?
It's actually the Google Workplace.
Yep. So the first one is we're looking to enter into a 3-year contract with Promevo. They came back with pricing because we needed to renew our licensing for our 525 users. The 1 year was a 32% discount off of 126,000. And the 3-year was 35% for a 3-year lock-in. So we figured if we didn't have to worry about prices changing or going up substantially within the next couple of years, I think a 3-year would be best.
I'll move that.
Need a second? All in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Brenda has her hand
I'm
raised.
sorry, who
Okay.
seconded it?
Morel.
Okay, Brenda has her, Supervisor Adams has her hand up, sorry.
That's all right. Brenda's fine. I just wanted to understand, is Google Meet managed through this or is it something different?
Yes, it is managed. It's covered under the licenses we pay for.
Okay, so one of the questions I've gotten quite a few of these questions recently is why participants in our meetings need to register in advance. Is that a Google Meet limitation or is that a county policy?
I'm not really sure about that. Register as in having your email in there, or
Sending an email to the county clerk asking to speak.
It
I believe
depends on
that-
the meeting.
go ahead.
Yeah.
That's the policy. I
Yeah,
believe.
currently, we don't, with the EO that's enforced in the state, we don't have to allow public to speak. We can waive that at this time. Going forward, if we continue with virtual meetings, we will open it up to public to be able to get on the meetings.
I think that'd be great because I've had a rash of concerns expressed recently about that it's a perceived barrier to participating in meetings. So
Not at all. They should reach out to my office.
okay.
Okay, I have a motion to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. Our second one will be a request for permission to fill our computer operator due to a promotion.
I'll move that, Simmons.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next will be a request to fill our computer services specialist due to a resignation.
I'll move it, Morel.
Second, Scalera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And
Okay.
lastly, I've got one more.
You got one more?
Yes.
Okay.
We got a request to fill our junior network administrator due to a promotion.
I'll move it.
Second Adams.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Now we have planning up, please.
Hi, everybody. I have two resolutions tonight. The first is authorization to appoint a member to the Environmental Management Council. The first is the representative for the town of Ghent, David Newman. It'd be a reappointment.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the second is also an authorization to appoint a member to the EMC for the town of Greenport. Michael Grisham would be the representative for Greenport.
I'll move it.
Adams, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrice.
Good night.
We have is Sue on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Sue is up next for weights and measures.
I just wanted, because I haven't been on in a while, just go over a few things. I've been handing out fines lately, quite a bit actually. I think I'm up to almost 13,000 from last month and this month on packaging. A lot of companies, not necessarily say the supermarkets, but the companies that they deal with are short packaging a lot of their products. So we put a cap on it. I don't know if you want to put a cap on keeping it low at the stores or to be able to go up to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on fines. So that's something I wanted to bring up just to get everybody's feeling and that. And then I also have my report that I submitted to the state on what I've done for the past year. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at that, if they had any questions.
Supervisor Adams has her hand, oh, she had her hand up. Supervisor Chimitas has his hand up.
Did you want to go, Brenda? You're muted though.
Thanks. Suzanne, I just wanted to ask you, when we're talking about packaging fines, does this mean that the packaging is overstated? The amount in the package is overstated?
Actually, what we come up with a lot is short weights.
Okay, because it just seems particularly distressing given the increase in the cost of food that we would have, food would have, the weight be an issue.
It always has been, and that it depends. I'm finding a lot more of the private labels rather than say ShopRite's label and their pre-packaging of their goods. So those are two issues that I'm finding in the stores right now.
You had asked about whether or not we should have a cap, and I guess my sense is that it maybe depends on the context. That I think if somebody had made a mistake, they really couldn't have known that something was short, and they're selling something. I would be hesitant to give a giant fine for what seems like a normal run-of-the-mill mistake. But if somebody seems like they're more egregious and sort of repeat offenders, you warn them and they didn't fix things, or you fine them and they didn't fix things, and they keep on happening, then I do think it makes sense to escalate, and maybe we'd have to go over that cap. So I'm not sure if that really helps your question, but that would be like the framework I would approach.
For the local stores, I work with them.
Right.
I explain to it because it seems, like it's the experience that Hope has. They're not trained correctly. But when I get to the larger stores, say ShopRite, like Host is Zinger's short weight. So it's stated on the package. Now I'll find ShopRite, but ShopRite goes back to the manufacturer or the distributor to get their money back. So I've had 5 items and they're fined $600. The other counties will fine $600 per item within a lot. So if there's 12 items and all 12 are short, they'll charge $600 per item, whereas I just charge by the lot. So if you're looking to increase income in the county, I can go higher.
Well, Sue, I got a question. I mean, so you go into a store and you look at what's printed on the package and it actually tells you how much weight's supposed to be in or whatever. I mean, you
Right.
say you do by the lot. Does this happen like every week, once a month? I mean, you
Like
can have a
right
lot of
now-
packages go through, in and out in the course of a day.
Yeah, right now, because it's my slower time, not being outside and doing the gas stations, I'm focusing more on that and price. If I go to a store and I do 100 items and say 68 items are not priced, then I can find them $300 per item that's not priced correctly. So I tend to work with the smaller stores. The larger stores, I give the fines out to because they can recoup it from a third party, second to third party. So I can package weight your things, Kippy.
Oh, we've done it. We have to
I know.
check it constantly. We already know that. We have to check it every hour to make sure how it goes out. Once you put a weight on something, you have to have that weight or better within that
Right.
package.
And
So
so
we know.
when I go into the store, I have a scale and I take the weight of the package. Then I dissect the package and do the net weight and the packaging weight. And that's how I come up. And that new program that I'm getting will automatically calculate everything. So it will save a lot of time. So,
Supervisor Adams has her hand up and Supervisor Morel.
So I'm trying to understand a little bit of the context for this. I do want the consumers to have, fair packaging, but I'm also concerned that if it's packaging from a manufacturer, and we're fining for that, and even if the store is reimbursed by the vendor or the distributor, that's time and money for them because they have to have a process and an employee to do that, which in these days when it's so hard to find staff in these areas, that's placing a burden, I think, on the employer. So do you have is there a percentage of how many of these things are, being packaged by manufacturers as opposed to being packaged locally?
It's more by the manufacturers, and most of these manufacturers are large companies that have a quality control department. So they have a failure on their end, so they need to correct that.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yes. I was just going to suggest possibly that Sue maybe develop a recommendation in terms of fines and bring it back to the committee so that we can look at it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I have to go according to what the state allows for fines. But I'll break down for the next meeting, I'll break down what it costs per lot versus what I'm doing per lot.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Sue. Anybody got any more questions for Sue?
Yeah, I was gonna add, Sue, if you're saying that we're more lenient than other counties, I guess I would be inclined for major manufacturers to be as strict as what other counties are doing. And that seems like a fair baseline.
Yeah, Albany County fines over millions of dollars a year, even though they have a larger store. But once they find something in a store, then they go to the other, stores, say like ShopRite. If there's 7 ShopRites, they'll go there and they'll check it out. I may not have the same issue as Albany, but I may find other issues, and then the other counties will go and check those manufacturers.
Supervisor Collins has his hand up.
I don't mean to intrude on this committee, but Sue, are your findings ever contested by the manufacturer?
No. I haven't had anybody contest yet.
Reflection of how good you are then. Thank you.
Supervisor Scalera has his hand up.
Go ahead, Rick.
Rick, you're muted. Yeah.
Forgive me, sorry.
Go on.
This is something that should be posted in the newspaper once a month or something with the names of the stores and the amount of fines. I think it would go a long way.
None of the other counties do that. But I can look into it if we're allowed to do that.
Well, how does our consumer know it's actually happening? And, unless they attend this meeting, if they don't see it in the newspaper that ShopRite or some other Hannaford or something else is short pricing, and then ultimately the breakdown is that they could get fined, or they did get fined.
Yeah. I pull all the stock off the shelves and then have the managers check to see if there's anything in the back room of that stock left. And then we'll check that if it is, to make sure. Because they have to pull everything from inventory right where we're there. So.
Anybody else?
Supervisor Holtling has her hand up.
I just had a quick question because I've actually never heard of this before. Do you think manufacturers do it on purpose to see what they can get away with because the cost that they save through shorting packages is less than?
No, I think it has to do with the manufacturing and their quality control.
So it's accidental. It gets through. It's not like they're like, hey,
Yeah.
we'll short it this much and make this much profit and we'll pay the fines and we'll still be ahead of the game.
I had one store last month. They had garlic toast. And it turned out that the woman had 2 deaths in the family and somebody else took over and they didn't realize it. I didn't fine them for that lot, but we pulled everything off the shelf and they repackaged it.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
we look at the situations and see.
Okay, anybody else? All right, Sue, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, Sergeant Major. Gary?
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Sergeant.
Hi, Gary.
I assume I do not need the resolution for the bus, thanks to a lot of people. And the liaison called me last night and said, as soon as he gets the requirements from New York State Met, he will be driving the bus. They will be driving a bus from Indiana to 389 Fairview. So, thank you.
Okay.
We still need to pass a resolution, correct, Chairman? or
Yes,
no?
yes, we do.
Yeah.
So I need a motion to pass this resolution for the Sergeant Major.
I'll make a motion, Simmons.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
What else do you have, Gary? Anything?
I
We
believe
have-
Supervisor Adams has her hand up.
Go ahead.
And Chamitas.
Gary, I just had a quick question. Will the bus have branding on it? Will it have markings that say Columbia County Veterans Department? And is that included in the price or is that additional? Gary's muted.
Gary, you're muted.
No, it'll come just standard bus, and then we have to put the signage on it. But I've talked to the county sign shop, and they're going to do it so we don't spend $1,200 doing it.
Supervisor Chamitas had a question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about. I know you've been needing this new bus, and so I'm glad it's coming. Just wondering about, like, for transparency purposes, is my understanding right that the bus has already been purchased because we need it, which I'm fine with. But if that's the case, maybe we could just have a communication go out to the committee just to say,
Yep.
hey, we need to do this. We, just to sort of keep things transparent.
That's not a problem. The idea was it was an emergency purchase based on the circumstances. We consulted with our county attorney, and it was a legitimate purpose, but the whole idea was to put it through the committee and we can send out the information. Just so you know, this is, there were some supply chain issues regarding the bus, and through the state contract in our review, it would probably have taken 6 to 8 months to get a new bus or more, which we couldn't really wait that long because of the condition of the current bus.
The liaison told me last night we could expect a couple of years based on the outline.
On the supply chain. So we were lucky to find this bus. It was actually, as Gary said, it was in Indiana, but it meets our needs. It's a little bigger than what we had initially planned on, but price-wise, it's not that much more expensive than what the state contract pricing was.
Right. And just to be clear, Gary, I'm really excited about your program and I want to make sure it can continue to moving smoothly. And so if we need a new bus, we need a new bus. It's just more about process-wise. It's just like, oh, this seems like if we're going to do an emergency expense, it's sort of like breaking with tradition. Let's just like be clear about it.
Understand.
Supervisor Holtling has her hand up.
Yeah, I am fully in support as well. And the chairman actually called me, or I went up to the office for something and we discussed it. And I said, yeah, I agree that this is, an emergency and a great deal. My question has to do with process actually prior to this year. And I'm not on this committee, so I could be completely misunderstanding, but my understanding is that it's been discussed since like prior to last summer. So I guess my question is, how did it not get in the budget request? Like ARPA funds are great and I think it's an appropriate usage, but if we knew that we needed this new bus and it got to where it was an emergency purchase in February because the bus was in such bad shape, we ended up approving every single department's request as it stood in the budget. We didn't make any cuts to the budget request. So I'm just wondering why it didn't come through during budget time as a request in the budget.
I requested a couple of years in advance.
Yeah, Supervisor, I think Ron's thought was that he could use Dwyer funds to pay for the bus, and Gary looked into it, and that's not a proper use of the Dwyer funds, so that's why it was not included in the budget.
Okay, so it was in the budget request, and then the prior controller thought it could be a different funding, and got it. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Gary, wasn't there something to do with funding from Congress or something like that you were working on as well?
That came from me when Gary approached me a month or so ago. It was probably closer to 2 months ago about it. I suggested we first try to find some grant funds, and I suggested he call Congressman Delgado's office and some of the others. So that came from my office. When Gary came back and said the best we could do were low interest loans, then we repositioned and we decided that's when we would use the ARPA funds.
Thanks for the clarification.
Anybody else? Okay. That's all I have right now. Questions from the public, if we have anything?
There's no emails from the public, but I don't think Gary was done with his agenda.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I wanted. Okay, Gary.
Gary, you're on mute again.
I sent out a copy of my annual report. If anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, number 3 is latest on compensation and pensions. I'm really excited.
Gary's having technical difficulties. You're muted again, hon.
I'll hold it down. I'll start over.
Oh no, you're muted again.
Since January 1st, I'm really happy to report that I've had 11 compensation cases come back from the VA rated at 100%, which means that the veteran will get, the average is $3,500 a month. And one of the things that I've agreed to do, and probably the only one in New York State, is to have my comp and pen exams done here, particularly PTSD and traumatic brain injuries, on Sundays. And the VA is really happy to do that. Last Sunday I had 2. The Sunday before that I had 3. Our operations center here is really staying busy Last Wednesday, I had 5 in one day. So the VA is happy with that. Also, the mental health unit up in the VA is doing all their exams and counseling here in the office rather than sending the veteran up there. I also had 2 widows' pensions approved. And you may have seen in some of the news articles that come out, as part of my Dwyer program, we started a widows program. And I have 23 widows in it now that mentor each other and help. As an example, during the holidays, they were able to take food around to some of the veterans that were shut-ins. And that's very, very exciting. The next thing is Judge Nichols' wife and I worked on veterans in nursing homes Valentine's Day. And when we did a survey of our veterans in nursing homes, we have 104 veterans in nursing homes right now. And that's one of the things that I really want to focus on this coming year and get some of them that are able to get out, is to get them out here and let them use the day room downstairs and interact with each other. I've talked about the Operations Center. Monday, I was selected to be the only county in New York State to participate in a news conference in Albany, whatever they call it, the $1 Million Staircase, whatever that is. And it's in the front page of the paper today. And what we were briefing the press on is that all the veterans in New York State are represented by a director. And we're trying to get that elevated to a commissioner level so the veterans have a seat at the table directly with the governor. And I think the press conference went well. We had a lot of veterans show up. Our legislatures were there and got good feedback on that. The final thing I have is we've been a couple things.
Gary, you're muted again.
I have to hold it down. About a year ago, there was a new bill passed authorizing reimbursement for our indigent burials. And my clerk and I went back and reviewed all the files for 2 years and submitted all the expenditures we had for indigent burials to the state. And Jim, I think it was last week, we got a check for over $11,000 to make up for the money we expended on indigent burials. Sunday, I got a phone call from, maybe all of you don't know, but we had a visit from the Secretary of the VA last fall. And Sunday, I got a call from his chief of staff saying, we haven't given you any feedback since we were there, but I want to tell you that the secretary is traveling around the United States telling other counties, if you want to have a good, successful veterans program, call Sergeant Major Flaherty in Hudson. So I thought that was pretty positive to come in. And I think that's about all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Gary, you had one more item. You had something about the 2022-23 Flare.
Yes, I do. This year, in the annual report, I presented a letter from Senator Jordan citing us and our success with the Dwyer program to try to get it moved from going out and begging money every year to get into the budget for Dwyer to being a line item in the state budget. And we were successful. And not only are the 27 counties, but all the counties this year are funded, and it's going to be a permanent line item, which we don't have to go up and negotiate every year.
Right.
Thank you for a great report.
Okay, anybody have anything else they'd like to bring in front of the committee? I'm looking for an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Rick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night. Good meeting.
Good night, all.
Night.